Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and happy National Bioenergy Day. My name is Tim Ports. I'm the Vice President of Content here at BBI and the Executive Editor of Biomass Magazine, and certainly want to extend a thank you to everyone that is making time for us today, this afternoon, to hear us talk about our favorite publication, Biomass Magazine. I'm joined today by Marketing and Sales Director at BBI International, John Nelson, and our charge today is to outline Biomass Magazine's reach, its audience, and our plans for the upcoming calendar year of 2016. I want to walk you just very briefly through a quick rundown of what we want to hope to accomplish this afternoon, kind of an agenda. So shortly I'll turn the call over to John, and John will walk you through the audience that the title has amassed since 2008 when we launched it, talk about monthly circulation. He'll talk about our online component for the title. John's going to talk a little bit about a platform that we're, 2016 will be our third year with deep experience in, and the exciting opportunities that platform really provides us and the sponsors that choose to support that. At that point, John will hand the call back over to me, and I'll talk a little bit about how we organize Biomass Magazine, what's in every issue of the title, how we put the title together, how we make decisions about what runs inside of the issues. And then I'll move briskly through a month-by-month account of what we'll be doing and talking about in 2016. Stay on the line. At the end of the presentations, we'll be giving a webinar discount to everybody that joined us today. So I look forward to it. Before I turn it over to John, I just want to say a little bit about a couple of things. I want to talk a little bit about the folks that are registered today, and it's humbling, it's gratifying to us. I ran through the registration list about 20 minutes before we started just to have a look at what types of organizations have joined us. We have everything from representatives from material handling companies, representatives that manufacture biomass heating appliances, gas monitoring folks are on the phone with us today, instrumentation and control, ship loaders, engineering companies, size reducers, hammer mills, grinders. I think it says a lot about the varied nature of this industry, right? We cover everything from landfill gas to pellets to advanced biofuels and biochemicals and back again. It's a difficult swath to cover for us with regard to that. The good news is it's essentially been the same team since the middle of 2012 that's been working on this, so we've really got it figured out. The other thing that I want to say is that we certainly don't do this by ourselves, and without diving into who's on our editorial board, I certainly want to mention that we have a very active editorial board comprised of folks that make their living making pellets and biomass-derived power and biogas and thermal energy from biomass. And really their direction guides and shapes the stories that we run in each issue of Biomass Magazine, and that's a big, big thing. And why is that a big thing? Well, it's all about relevance. And if you're on the phone today, my guess is that you're either already an advertiser or you're considering becoming an advertiser. And our charge and our responsibility to you is to make sure that we've got a title and a product that your target audience believes in, finds credible, and finds worth their time. And I think, you know, when John talks a little bit about what we know about our readers, you'll find out that, in fact, that is very much the case. And that credibility and that relevance thing is really closely attributable to the contributions of our editorial board. So it's a big, big thing. Before I turn it over to John, I want to say one last thing. Each week, our team, as part of their responsibilities, is on the phone with producers. We maintain very active lists of pellet production facilities, biomass production facilities, biogas facilities, And our goal organizationally is to speak with someone from each of those facilities at least once a year to, at the very basic level, confirm the operational data that we have on hand. When I'm making those calls, I always ask, are you familiar with Biomass Magazine? Do you read Biomass Magazine? And I do not remember the last time that someone suggested that they weren't aware of our title and that they didn't read our title. And these are producers. So if that's your audience, if those are the folks you're trying to get your brand, your products, and your services in front of, I'm glad you're here, and I urge you to listen on. With that, I'm going to turn the call over for a little bit to my colleague, John Nelson. I look forward to talking to you after John speaks with you. Again, thank you for joining us. John, go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Tim, and I appreciate everyone taking the time to be on today's webinar. And I think, you know, the words that you just said in terms of producers in this industry will be supported by the numbers that you see here that I'm going to dive into. So Biomass Magazine is the longest running monthly publication focused exclusively on all things biomass, and is the industry's most recognizable magazine that offers the best opportunity to gain mass exposure in the biomass market. Biomass Magazine's print edition is distributed to 7,000 readers each month, and more importantly, 1,125 of those readers are biomass professionals from future or existing production facilities. And in addition to those 1,125 producers from around the globe monthly, we mail copies of the magazine to every U.S. biomass power production facility. So we can guarantee that multiple copies of the magazine go to each biomass facility every month. And as you can see on the slide here, we have readers in 52 countries, and a large portion of our circulation consists primarily of bioenergy producers who represent the largest sector of our readership base. This graph also is demonstrating the next types of companies that are part of our subscription base, and they're equipment and service providers, consultants, technology providers, academics, farmers, and so on. And so I really want to drive home, if there's one takeaway of my portion of this presentation, would be the following statement, and I really want to drive this home. And by purchasing advertising in Biomass Magazine, you can be assured that you are reaching the right people in the biomass industry. So really, we put our emphasis on getting to the right people, the decision makers. And so to further support that statement, I'd like to note that our audience numbers of 16,000 is based on third-party research we've outsourced on Biomass Magazine. On average, when surveying our readers, we see 2.3 readers per issue. So your advertisement will be seen by 16,000, and that's not including all the bonus distribution that will be attached to each issue that Tim's going to cover here in a moment. You can also see we have readers of our print magazine located all over the world. So anything that's shaded would be where we have a reader. Obviously, there's a lot of blue there. So, and then we also have readership in the U.S. at 84%. So obviously, the majority of our readership base is in the U.S. We do have 16% outside from an international standpoint. This will change when you look at the online stats here in a moment. So we're now looking at some results from our reader survey, and we have some of the top 7 things to know about our readers. So, you know, this slide contains the data from our third-party research we've recently done on Biomass Magazine, and we also had the luxury of having our art department make the data look sharp on this slide. So the research was performed by Signet Research, a firm located on the East Coast, and some of you may have even filled out the survey. So what did the research say about our readership? It said, of those who completed the online survey, 34% were existing or future biofuels producers. Each reader spends on average 48 minutes per issue. Yeah, 48 minutes. And as I mentioned earlier, each copy of Biomass Magazine is read 2.6 times, bringing the readership of each issue to 16,000. Also, 80% of our readers are involved in recommending, initiating, or purchasing products or services. And what I find even more important is is the fact that 81% of our readers took action based on the ads they viewed in Biomass Magazine. Readers visited the advertiser's website, discussed a product or service, recommended or made purchases based on the ad they saw in Biomass Magazine. And also, I want to say one last note is that 75% of Biomass Magazine readers agree that advertisements educate and are an important part of the publication. So if, with that being said, what I want to kind of say just to finish this slide is if you're on the fence about advertising in Biomass Magazine, hopefully this third-party data will give you more assurance that advertising here is the right choice. So here we're going to take a look at our online presence, and we're extremely proud of the magazine's web presence. Through the use of our ongoing stories being posted to the site, search engine optimization, content from maps, blogs, biomass webinars on demand, and the biomass industry directory, we have increased our traffic to the numbers you see on this slide. And these numbers, again, are based on Google Analytics, and they were last updated July 2015. So the stats in our media kit currently. We are currently averaging more than 121,000 page views or impressions each month, and a whopping 72,000 visitors per month. And what's even more fascinating is that we've increased the number of page views to our site this year by 8.6% from last year. So it's something we strive for. I know Tim and his team and the editorial team strive for with posting new stories. From a marketing standpoint, it's something we work on and trying to keep that number up. So we're very proud of that number. We also have strong search features and recommended article section on the website that helps visitors find the most relevant stories, and in the end, keeping visitors on the site longer. So as an advertiser, it means that people are staying on our site for a longer period of time, and the potential for someone to click on your online advertisement goes up. Here's a look at our demographics of our online, some demographics for our online visitors and impressions. So we have visitors to our website from around the globe. The slide in front of you shows the top 10 visits by country, so I would say take a look at the right side of this slide. And we have the U.S. as the top by a large margin, but we also have the U.K. coming in second, which we find interesting, Canada, India, and Germany following. And with 45% of all visitors being from outside the U.S., this slide is demonstrating that many companies from around the world, not just the U.S., are looking to understand the latest biomass-related technology and policy. So if you're looking to reach both the U.S. biomass audience and the global biomass audience, biomassmagazine.com and online advertising is a great option for you. And I do want to note that pricing starts as low as $150 a month. So you can take advantage of these numbers for as little as $150 a month. So I definitely would encourage you to contact us about that. So here we have a slide on social networks that are related to Biomass Magazine. So why are we showing you a slide on social media? Well, this slide is here to make you aware that we are actively promoting our stories on all the sites you see listed. And based on Google Analytics research, we are seeing traffic come in from Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, as well as some other social media sites. So if you're following this industry, you've probably seen many of our posts. Every story, every important policy change, every event is posted to these social networks. And to give you an example, during the past 2 years, we have tweeted on Biomass Magazine more than 4,000 times, and we have accumulated more than 10,000 Twitter followers. That's a huge network. So the goal, and why we're telling you this, is the goal of all this activity is to bring visitors back to biomassmagazine.com to read our stories and see your online advertisements or your print advertisement in our digital issue of the magazine. So we've got some results here. When we say results are in, this is from our Signet research that I mentioned earlier. These are some quotes that came came from that third-party survey. You can see use Biomass Magazine to guide business development and decisions. So if you're an advertiser, someone who's reading that, that's what they've said about reading this magazine, seeing what is available equipment-wise. So if you're looking, I'll let you read through these, but if you're looking to get into the industry, here's some more support of why it's a good idea. And so while you're reading the slide, I do want to point that I believe many of you would find this extremely beneficial, is the fact that we have an outstanding art department that helps produce this magazine. And when you purchase an advertisement with Biomass Magazine, on Biomass Magazine, you gain access to that art department to help you design and create your advertisement free of charge. And so it can be a huge cost savings to you, the advertiser, and that point sometimes flies under the radar. So if you're saying, hey, I don't have an ad, I don't know what to put in there, we can help you with that, and that's free of charge. So definitely talk to one of the account managers about that. So here we're turning to Biomass Magazine's webinar series. And sponsorships for Biomass Magazine webinar series are an exceptional option for companies that are looking to engage a specific audience for 90 minutes at a time and generate leads. So attendance for these webinars has been strong because these events are content-driven and provide valuable information to the attendees provided from our industry expert panelists. So as a sponsor, you'll have your logo with your URL listed on all of the emails that are sent out promoting the webinar. We typically say roughly 150,000, can be more as well. I would be at a minimum. The Biomass Magazine website registration page, you're also listed on online advertisements. So you're actually gaining some audience awareness on Biomass Magazine on online ads for the webinar. You're also on the weekly e-newsletter ads about the webinar, so you're going out to the e-newsletter network and our on-demand webinar section of Biomass Magazine. So without a doubt, because we've been doing these webinars for 2 years, we are confident that this is one of the best ways you can identify companies and people interested in a specific topic within the biomass industry. And probably the most important point here is, in addition to all the promotional benefits I listed, as the main sponsor of our webinars, we physically give you the contact information of all the attendees and registrants of the webinar, including their email. So again, when I say this is a great way to engage an audience, it's a great way to generate leads. So if you're looking to generate leads on a specific topic, this is a great way to go. Some of our packages include, our 2 packages are actually the Diamond Webinar Sponsor Package. That's our top one. You get all the content data. You get you actually can see the interest ranking of all the attendees on the webinar. And you can also have a speaking spot, and you can work with Tim and his team, and we can kind of design a webinar that makes sense for you. You also get your logo placement, as I mentioned, and then ongoing lead generation from our on-demand side of our website. And then we also have the Gold Webinar Sponsorship Package, and that starts at $5,000. And it's basically everything the Diamond, except you're not getting the contact information, but you do get all the benefits of the advertising that goes along with that. And you can see on the right side here, we've got a couple examples of some webinars that we've recently done that were successful. We also, here's what it looks like. If you're not familiar with our webinar series, this is what the slides look like, the main slide. You can see we've got a couple examples here of some that took place, and you can see the speakers are listed. You can see the sponsorships are listed. Now, I do have a testimonial here from Methods Energies, which was actually done by a Biodiesel Magazine webinar, another webinar that we did with Biodiesel Magazine. But I used this quote, and I want to read a press release that they issued. It had nothing to do with us, but I wanted to just read it so you can hear from their words how productive a webinar was for them. So I'm going to read it right now, this news release from Methods Energies. Methods Energies International, a renewable energy company that offers an array of products and services to biodiesel fuel producers, announced today that 659 people registered for the webinar hosted by Biodiesel Magazine this past August 28th. The webinar was mostly attended by industry professionals such as biodiesel and ethanol producers. Meth has used the webinar to introduce what it believes is a quote-unquote game changer to the biodiesel industry relating to the way oils are pre-treated before making biodiesel. Meth is very pleased with the number of attendants, but more importantly with the several dozens of requests for additional information it received following the webinar. Calls have been coming in from all over the world, including from a number of billion-dollar companies that are interested in its catalyst and related technology. Meth is currently working with several potential clients to help them evaluate and validate the catalyst and technology, and is confident that many of them will move forward toward implementation. Nicholas Ng, president of Meth, has said, "We knew we had a game-changing technology, but we didn't expect the magnitude of the response, and from some of the biggest companies in not only the biodiesel industry, but the ethanol industry as well. We are getting calls and emails on a daily basis and are engaged with some very big players with very large volumes of production. Looking at the U.S. alone, we could be adding significantly to our bottom line from equipment and catalyst sales over the next few years. Considering that most of that is reoccurring revenues, there is no need to say more as to why we are very, very excited." So again, that was Meth's Energies from one of the webinars we produced. We have the same numbers show up for Biomass Magazine, and if you contact most of these companies that have been sponsors, I think the same, they basically be saying the same thing, and it would be resonating as well. So this is a great way to generate leads, have a speaking opportunity, and gain advertising. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tim Ports, who is the executive editor of Biomass Magazine and vice president here at BBI International.
Thanks, John. I appreciate it. The webinar, I love to tell this story. When we launched the webinar platform, it was new, it was an unknown entity, and we had really no idea what to expect. And we put together 2 speakers and launched the webinar, and in the first hour after we launched it, we had 100 registrants, and I think our very first webinar we had over 500 registrants, and then when we actually held the webinar, we had nearly 300 folks on the phone. And that moment we realized, geez, we've got something here, something that's very interesting and compelling, and probably most interesting for advertisers is that you don't have to wonder about the interest. It's there. When folks register, they're essentially raising their hand to suggest that they're interested. I do want to move on to how we organize the title on a month-to-month basis and then get into the editorial calendar. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Each issue of Biomass Magazine, we have content for the 4 sectors of the broader biomass industry that we follow. So if you look at this slide, you can see that we have a power section, a pellet section, a thermal section, a biogas section, an advanced biofuel and chemical section. Inside of those sections, there's short news items, there's a column. I'm proud to say that we run columns from virtually the most important people in every sector. So in the power section, we have regular contributions from Bob Cleaves at the Biomass Power Association. The pellet section, Jennifer Hedrick at Biofuels Institute, and Seth Ginther share that section. Thermal section, Biomass Thermal Energy Council has supported that for a long, long time, and it just goes on and on. So our readers who identify and are members of those organizations use Biomass Magazine as a means of kind of keeping up with what their association leadership is talking about. And then we also support each of those sections with a feature. So we typically have 5 features or departments inside of each issue of Biomass Magazine, 1 for every category. So if you're out there and you're thinking, yeah, Biomass Magazine, this is interesting, but I'm really interested in the biogas space, every month there is biogas content. It's a mandate that we put together for ourselves and said, listen, we're going to talk about every sector of this industry every month. We're going to get intentional about it. And that starts really at the beginning of every production cycle for every issue. We receive feature pitches from our team and from our editorial board, and we make decisions, and we have to find and do find great on-theme stories for each of these sectors. So that's how the title is organized. Let's look at 2016 editorial highlights. We're going to just quickly stop here. I want to just draw attention to, this is one of my favorite slides always in every slide deck, because I love seeing the covers. I love seeing the mock covers that our team puts together. This is a blend of actual issues that have run already and a handful of new issues. Why are there mock issues here? Why are there covers that haven't actually run? There are some changes in the 2016 editorial calendar from 2015. The reality is every summer we begin an evaluation of are we featuring the right 12 themes? Are the themes doing for us what we want? Certainly. And then are the themes doing, are we really touching on the most important 12 ideas in the industry? Again, that have enough of a broad appeal that we can write towards those themes in every sector. So some great photography. A lot of these photographs are shot by members of our editorial team. We're out there, we're watching this, we're covering this sector, and it's fantastic. So let's talk about January really quickly. Move into January. We always begin and have begun our calendar year with an issue dedicated to plant management, operations, and maintenance. Biomass assets are expensive. They're highly engineered and technical places, and having a profitable bioenergy facility really comes down to how well do you operate that facility. So we dedicate an entire issue to the exploration of that. What are the best practices out there? I remember the story that I wrote this year for this issue was about third-party operation and maintenance in biogas operations. Very interesting story. Again, the assets there. Let's bring in a third-party team to run this. It was an interesting story. The other thing that I want to point out here is the January 2016 issue also carries the fourth quarter 2015 biomass construction update. Now, what's a biomass construction update? So in our next slide, we'll see exactly what the biomass construction update is. Late in 2013, we made the decision to run a biomass construction update. And in that biomass construction update, we feature reports on the sector and facilities that are being built. And it's a data-rich, next slide please here, guys. Want to be sure and show that. Thank you. What you're looking at, again, our team, and I open the call by talking about how much our team gets on the phone. And we actually employ someone who manages our data, drives those efforts, and is constantly on the phone with projects that we understand to be under construction. And on a quarterly basis, we report to our readers in print what's happening at those projects. Maybe the concrete's being poured. Maybe ground was just broken. Maybe the material handling system was installed in the last quarter. This kind of data is found in the biomass construction update. It's very popular. This is conventionally a lot of our engineering, general constructors, general contractors like to have ads that run alongside this data. Well over 20 different projects are featured in each biomass construction update. We do that on a quarterly basis. If you're involved in the building of facilities, if your equipment is very often specified for these projects, I urge you to think about an ad schedule that reflects our biomass construction updates and when they run. All right, let's move to February. February, we're bringing back dust management, fire suppression, and plant safety. And right or wrong, we walked away from this theme or eliminated this theme from the 2014 and 2015 editorial calendar. And we just heard from our readers and our audience and our advertisers that this is just way too important of an issue to not dedicate an issue to each year. So we're bringing it back. It's in February. It's got a nice bonus distribution at the National Ethanol Conference. Certainly the largest wintertime ethanol event, 1,200 employees there. And each year, regrettably, we hear about and even cover stories about explosions and fire. Certainly, this industry continues to develop innovation and best practices to eliminate and drive down the risk of these situations, but these things continue to happen. So there's the innovation is and the need for innovation continues certainly. So February 2016 will bring back dust management, fire suppression, and plant safety. If you play in that sector of this industry, certainly ask your sales representative about participating in this issue. March and April together really begin our sort of springtime swing through some of our largest issues each and every year. Why are they so large? Why are March and April issues of Biomass Magazine so big? Why is such interest? Well, for a couple of reasons. Number one, project development and plant construction. Yes, we have a biomass construction update on a quarterly basis, but that's a 6-page, data-rich component. This is an entire issue dedicated to that with features about the biggest projects that are currently under construction, under development, and very, very popular issue. The other thing that makes this such a popular issue for our advertisers is the bonus distributions. All right. The International Biomass Conference and Expo, 15, 16, 1,700 attendees year in and year out. This is a hotel room drop. So day one of the International Biomass Conference, our attendees are out taking in content, networking. When they return to their hotel room, March 2016 issue will wait for them at the event. So it's an additional bonus distribution that I think is really compelling for our advertisers, and that proves out every year with the number of advertisers that we bring into the issue. And again, great theme, project development and plant construction. That's the beating heart of this industry, is what's the next projects that are coming online, what's being built. That's where big money is being spent. That's where people are speccing out equipment, material handling, hammer mills, all of those types of things. So again, just like the biomass construction update, definitely keep your eye on March 2016. Also, the Landfill Gas Symposium and the Southeast Recycling Conference and Trade Show. Also at the International Biomass Conference and Expo, the April issue of Biomass Magazine, and this is in the conference bags. And so last year, this was the largest issue actually in the history of Biomass Magazine from a page count perspective, advertiser perspective, this issue. And it was the imports and exports issue last year. This is in now, a lot of the headlines, a lot of the buzz about the global biomass market certainly is dominated by the pellet sector. But the reality is that biofuels are traded globally as well. Technologies, biomass conversion technologies are a global exchange. So there, we had no trouble whatsoever in pulling together stories about either finished energy product, biomass energy products, or biomass conversion technologies being traded, bought, sold in a global marketplace. We figured the International Biomass Conference and Expo was a perfect venue for this title. Again, this is in conference bags. You'll also see it's distributed at the European Bioenergy Conference. So a really nice couple of bonus distributions to highlight an increasingly global business. And finally, just to sweeten the pot a little bit more, first quarter biomass construction update from 2016. May. Let's talk about May. May has been our waste to energy issue for 4 or 5 years running now, and principally because the strong opportunities for us to do some targeted bonus distributions to waste to energy conferences. The North American Waste to Energy Conference historically has been held in May, and we want to certainly leverage that and get that audience, get our title in front of that audience and at that event. So we'll deploy this particular theme in May once again, and the final bonus distribution for the International Biomass Conference and Expo. The conference has come and gone. We did the hotel room drop with March. We did April in the bags, and this issue is mailed to the all of the attendees at the International Biomass Conference and Expo. And then this other one, European Biomass Conference and Exhibition. If, again, John said this about digital, but if you're looking to get in front of that audience, May is a great time to do that. It's in attendee bags at that event, and that's a big, big deal. It's a great partnership that we've got with them, and it's grown year over year. Moving on to June. June is another new theme this year, biomass sourcing, collection, and transport. We actually, naturally, we cover a lot of this. We cover a lot of gathering biomass, handling it, moving. And so what we did is we sort of split that big theme and got a little bit more specific. And so we said, well, let's talk about actually sourcing it and getting it out of the forest, getting it out of the fields. And so we introduced this theme, biomass sourcing, collection, and transport, and moving it to where it needs to go. There's also a lot, I imagine in this issue, we're going to talk a lot about sustainability standards and how bioenergy facilities are increasingly being asked to prove to their buyers that they are making their bioenergy products from sustainable inputs, and I imagine you're going to see a lot about that topic in this issue. Bonus distribution, the 2016 International Fuel Ethanol Workshop and Expo, the largest technical conference around fuel ethanol production in the world, and Waste Expo. So we're taking Waste Expo a little bit later this year. We'll take the June issue to Waste Expo, and looking forward to that very much. This continues to be an area that we're excited about. We continue to grow our knowledge as an editorial team, and I'm looking forward to organizing the June issue of Biomass Magazine. Let's talk about July now. July, emissions, permitting, and regulatory compliance. The reality is we brought this particular theme back for 2016 as well for the same reason. This is something that pellet producers, biomass power producers have to confront, have to manage day in and day out at their operations. If you're not in compliance, you're going to get fined. Those fines are a drain on plant resources, plant attention, plant time. So we wanted to bring it back. We really do rely heavily on our editorial team, and probably even reach outside of that, our editorial board, and reach outside of our editorial board and engage other members within the industry. It tends to be some of the more technical features that we write in a given year, right? Controlling NOx and SOx and particulate emissions is not anything that our team has deep experience and training in. So we really do rely on our editorial board to point us at the best stories, help us understand what the current issues are, where the current stories are, and what people are interested in hearing about. So looking forward to this. Another biomass construction update, second quarter 2016. Bonus distributions, Pellet Fuels Institute Annual Conference. That's been a great bonus distribution for us. Jennifer does a great job pulling her constituents together. So if the pellet sector if that's your target audience and you really want to get in front of them, and geez, if you offer a technology that can help pellet producers stay in compliance with the regulations that are out there, then I think this is a slam dunk for you. This facility on the front, on the cover, the mock cover is Great Lakes Renewable Energy in Hayward, Wisconsin. Nice facility up there, and so those are the types of organizations and plants that we call, and we're in the process of pulling together features. Talk to those folks, ask them, what would you like to read about? And it's a great relationship that we have with producers, and they really do guide a lot of our decisions about what we cover. Let's move on to August. The equipment issue. We introduced the equipment issue, I believe it was 3 years ago, and it just keeps getting better and better. We enjoy it so much. And I would say it's kind of a split between an opportunity to showcase new technologies that have emerged, or a family of technologies that we maybe haven't talked about at length in the past. The cover of the equipment of this issue from the 2015 series, this is a briquette machine. I did a whole story on densification strategies, densification equipment that don't make pellets. They make logs. They make briquettes. And it was a really fascinating story to write about. We learned a lot about how this helps pellet producers increase uptime, and how the deployment of that piece of equipment unlocks new markets, and again, increase that uptime. This particular log machine is at a pellet facility in Alaska, and I was talking to Chad Schumacher, a member of our editorial board, and certainly someone I talk to on a regular basis about our title, about what we should be covering, and he told me that they did a survey, and they learned that about just 10% of the people that utilize wood heat in Alaska have a pellet appliance. And so he was making pellets only and could only unlock about 10% of that market that was available to him. He added in a log machine, and everyone can use logs. If you have a conventional fireplace, you can use logs. Whole host of bonus distributions: FarmFest, Dakota Fest, WasteCon, the Waste Conversion Technology Conference and Trade Show. So that's the August issue. September 2016, remember I said when I was talking about biomass collection, harvest, and transport that we split the biomass handling into two distinct issues. It's such a massive issue, getting at biomass, moving biomass, keeping biomass dry, loading biomass onto ships, loading it into domes, that we really felt like we kind of got to break this in half and cover sort of the two ends of the activity in two separate issues. Always an issue that's exciting, and we had just a fantastic September issue. Katie Fletcher did the cover story here, went out to the Port of Chesapeake, and did a long feature on Enviva's pellet terminal there, ship loading infrastructure. Fascinating stuff. That build-out continues, by the way, all across the globe, right? Ports are building infrastructure to handle this very specific type of commodity, of energy commodity. It requires different logistics than coal. You've got to keep biomass dry. You've got to cover it. You've got to manage the dust. And these are the types of things that we dig into in the September issue, our biomass handling, storage, and prep. Bonus distributions, the Algae Biomass Summit, the Exporting Pellet Conference hosted by USIPA, Seth Ginther, and his constituents. It seemed like that show just wrapped this issue as a bonus distribution there. It was on all the seats when people came back, and it was really gratifying to come back into the room and see people paging through this issue. So again, firsthand experience, these bonus distributions do work. They do deliver eyeballs that are normal subscription distributions do not. This is also going to be distributed at the Big Iron Farm Show, massive farm show. So let's move on to October. I know time is precious. Just got a few more months before I turn it back over to John for some closing things. Distributed and on-site bioenergy projects. This issue started this theme 3 years ago, and it's just gotten better and better and better each and every month. biomass is great because it can scale so well, right? You can make biomass power at a gigantic power facility like Drax. Everyone's heard of Drax, massive, massive coal-fired power station being converted over to bioenergy inputs like wood pellets. But the reality is that biomass can scale and heat a residence with a small pellet boiler, or it can heat a county courthouse in Maine, a feature that we had a couple of years ago. It can heat a hospital in Maine. It can heat a Air National Guard base in Vermont. Bridger Bowl in Montana is considering a biomass appliance. So these are the types of stories that we run in our distributed and on-site bioenergy projects issue, and very much looking forward to that as well. Let's go ahead and move on to November. I want to talk about this particular issue as well, co-products and product diversification. And really, I would say that this comes again from our editorial board and their suggestions, and really working with them and understanding their business. And in nearly every bioenergy sector that we cover, we've learned that one of the important things that drives revenues at bioenergy production facilities are co-products, higher value co-products in many cases. In corn ethanol production, corn ethanol plants aren't profitable without the revenues that they enjoy from distillers' grains. So they truly do make it, that co-product helps deliver that industry into profitability. And more we are seeing that same mentality move into more traditional biomass industries like wood pellet production. For instance, on the cover here you see grilling pellets. The vast majority of pellets that are bought and sold in this country are used to heat homes. But increasingly, entrepreneurial pellet management teams are identifying opportunities to use their existing assets, get really particular about the types of wood that they're bringing into those facilities, and they're marketing for a very different use for wood pellets. In this situation, it's a grilling pellet. You can make grilling pellets out of cherry and apple, and the reality is that demands a much higher price in the marketplace, which makes the profitability picture look much, much clearer. We're going to do that in November. We haven't covered this issue thematically yet. I'm looking forward to this issue, and I know that our readers are looking forward to this, because all readers, absolutely every pellet producer I talk to certainly is thinking about this. They're looking at animal bedding markets. They're looking at the barbecue market. They're looking at absorbent markets. How can I use the assets that I have and sell a product and make a product that I can sell for a higher profit margin than I'm currently selling? It's happening, it's real, and it's an important part of these producers' business, and we look forward to covering it in November 2016. Our last issue, and it's become a traditional December theme for us, is biomass integrations, conversions, and co-locations. We've been covering conversions actively for 5 years now with Drax and Atikokan in Canada, and these are sort of the certainly some marquee projects that by themselves are creating huge demand, but they're certainly not the only thing that's happening. You've got anaerobic digesters being deployed at ethanol plants in California and other parts of the country. You've got coal facilities at universities being converted to biomass inputs. The University of Iowa, my alma mater, we've covered that story extensively. And so this is a really important issue for us. The tough thing for us has always been, which stories do we cover? Very often in our feature pitch meetings, we'll have 3, 4, and 5 really great stories. And this is going to continue. You think about the implications of the Clean Power Plan, and you think about all those coal assets that are out there, large and small, and you think about how those entities that own those are going to comply with their state's clean power plans you got to think that conversions and integrations are going to be a part of that solution. So if these are the kinds of things that your teams are thinking about, certainly, and you have a product or service that can aid in this, certainly you want to think about the December 2016 issue. Power Gen, I think that's a fantastic bonus distribution for this issue and the Canadian Bioenergy Conference. I've taken a lot of your time today. I certainly appreciate it. Wanted to talk just very briefly about each issue. I'm going to hand it over now. I want to make a reference to one more thing. The International Biomass Conference and Expo, we talked about it a lot as a great bonus distribution for that March, April, May spring swing of our issues. It's the 11th through the 14th. It's in Charlotte. We're looking forward to being in North Carolina. That's a new venue for us. Exciting stuff going on in North Carolina. It's certainly in the heart of, it's at the northern end of southeastern pellet production belt. A lot of biogas happening there. It's a stone's throw from coal country, so how's a clean power plant going to fit in and create opportunity for biomass? A lot of reasons to be excited. Have a look at the website. If you want to speak, everybody on the phone should certainly consider speaking, submitting an abstract. There's instructions on how to do that, so certainly thanks to the sponsor. And with that, I'll now turn it over to John Nelson. John, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Thanks for giving us an overview of what we can look forward to reading next year in Biomass Magazine. A few things that I want to cover here is this presentation will be posted on YouTube, and it'll probably happen by the end of the week. And so if there's some information that you want, that will be posted, or if you want to share it around the office. And if you can't wait till it's posted, we do have all the facts, all the information, all the bonus distribution is listed currently on the media kit, and you can find that on biomassmagazine.com. One last note I want to talk about is, on the January issue of Biomass Magazine, we have a brand study scheduled for advertisers. And so what is a brand study, and why would you want to take advantage of it? But what we're saying is simply by purchasing an advertisement in the January print issue of Biomass Magazine, you will automatically be included in the brand study that will take place by the third-party research firm that I mentioned earlier. And during that survey, our readers will rank how well they recognize your company's specific brand and leave comments about your company in advertisements placed in Biomass Magazine. So you'll have an inside look at how your company ranks in relation to other companies advertising in the January issue. And also at the end of the study, we'll provide you with a full report and breakdown of the research results. Again, this is completely free to advertisers in the January issue. So I definitely would urge you to take advantage of the insight we can provide you as an advertiser in Biomass Magazine. And if you have any questions regarding the free study, please contact Chip, Howard, or Jeff, one of our account managers. So just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that study. We do have some upcoming events here. Next week we have the National Advanced Biofuels Conference and Expo in Omaha. I definitely would urge you to, if you haven't registered for that event, to do so. We've got some great speakers. We've got Todd Becker, who's the President, Chief Executive Officer, and Director of Green Plains. We also have an outstanding general session panel titled Examining the Policy Foundation of the Advanced Biofuels Industry. And that will include Michael McAdams, who's the President of the Advanced Biofuels Association, Joe Jobe, who's the CEO of the National Biodiesel Board, and Monty Shaw, who's the Executive Director of the Iowa Renewable Fuels Association. And that panel will be led by our one and only Tim Ports, who you've heard on this webinar. So we also have some tours, one specifically to ICM's pilot facility. So I would urge you to take a look at the National Advanced Biofuels Conference and Expo taking place next week. Also coming up is, with Biomass Magazine's webinar series, is the Landfill Methane Capture for Cash Compliance and Clean Air webinar, and that's taking place November 10th. And that's at 1 p.m. and that's free. We also have a free webinar coming up with Pellet Mill Magazine's 2016 editorial outlook, and that'll be put on by myself and Tim Ports, and we'll be discussing what we will be looking forward to with Pellet Mill Magazine in 2016, so I urge you to register for that event. You'll see an email coming out on that. And then, as Tim mentioned, we have the International Biomass Conference and Expo, and that's happening in Charlotte in April. So if you are looking at wanting a speaking opportunity, please log on to the website and submit your abstract and your speaking idea. And as we mentioned, for staying on, we want to offer you an exclusive discount. You can save 35% on one full-page print advertisement, and that expires January 1st, 2016. So you've got some time to purchase an ad and save some money and take advantage of the readership base that we've put together and the content that Tim and his team have assembled. And if you are interested in that, please contact us. You can call our one of our account managers, and we want to thank you for joining us today. And we hope you'll choose to reach and engage the biomass industry via Biomass Magazine in 2016. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day.